We're celebrating. It's 5 years. We're rolling on the road. We're rolling on.
Let us pray. It's starting again already.
100 shades of diversity. We're
There we go.
rolling on the road. Oh, rolling on the road.
We'll cover our show as we begin to
We're
make those who
rolling
need healing in
on
Jesus'
the
name.
road. 100 shades of diversity. We're rolling on the road. Take it away.
Well, thank you, Cousin Pat. We appreciate you as always down there in the hot Atlanta. And we are back again today, finishing our conversation a little bit from yesterday, but we are on the path of living healthier ever after. My name is Dr. Kimberly Barrington, and you are rolling on the road. And we have our resident expert here. Yes, in the house. Let's give it up, you guys, for Mr. Robert Johnson. He is going to be our resident expert as we go through this Living Healthier Ever After segments. He is a holistic practitioner. And today we're going to talk about who's in your circle. We touched on it a bit yesterday, but today we're really going to delve into it because, as you know, when you get ready to make changes in your life, you talk to your circle about it. You know who's in your circle of trust. You say, "Girl, this I'm going through," or "Man, let me tell you what's happening," and they influence us more than what we really know. You know, are they helping us? Are they hurting us by their responses and the things that they say? Because I'm going to tell you, everybody experiences something. If you're in a bad situation, there's some sort of benefit either for the person who's being abusing you or that you're abusing, or even if you're not if it's considered abuse, but if it's not a good situation for you, there's always some benefit on one end or the other. Would you agree with that, Mr. Johnson?
Most definitely. I mean, it's important that we have that circle because how do you establish a stronghold? A lot of people when they talk about the word stronghold, it's always about Satan. And
Mm-hmm.
so now we've got to begin to talk about strongholds that are about God. And one of the things that we always talk about is Satan wants your body and God wants your spirit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And both of them are going want access to your soul. And if Satan takes your body to get access to your soul, and God wants to be granted access to your spirit to have access to your soul, therein lies the ultimate fight for the battle on this earth for people. And so, if you think about it that way, what is a better way to have a stronghold of people that you trust and care about in your circle for your mental health, your spiritual health, your medical health? Those things are very important.
They are. I was just I'm running behind because I'm always helping, always ministering. And so today I was outside, and usually I'm not outside, but my little victuals were being delivered. My weekly food was being delivered. And so as I was out there talking, a neighbor came up and started talking to the neighbor, and the person who brought my food, we really got into this conversation talking about, the people that we have in our circle, that if we're praying for somebody, do we say, "Oh, okay, I'm praying for him, but how long is this going to last?" And I think on the flyer it says, "Are you healing or are you hurting?" And the Bible says that, bitter and sweet can't come out the same fountain. And if I'm praying for you, I can't come behind it and counteract it by saying, well, I'm praying for her and him to get together and that they work their problems out, but I don't know how long this gonna last, because you know how they do.
It's
You
funny.
know how they do. But our words have power and they have great meaning. And so I don't want you on my team if that's how you are behind my back. But I should be able
Mm.
to talk to you and you be mature enough to know that we're going to experience some, if we're in a relationship, some bumps along the way. And you have to look above my problem and not at my problem. There's a difference. There's a
You know,
big
I want to I want to say this. A lot of people think that prayer changes things. It does and it doesn't. First of all, there are requirements to your prayer, and you have to be in an alignment with who God is. And then it's one thing to be able to pick the phone up and talk to God. It's another thing to listen to what He has to say on the other line. And a lot of us, we pray to God, and usually we use God as our spare tire, if you will. It's only when
mhm,
something is bad that we're pulling out the spare tire and changing it because we got a spiritual flat for some reason in our lives, and now we need Him all of a sudden. But God is saying, I don't really need you as my spare tire. I don't want to be your spare tire. I want to be your steering wheel. And so in the steering wheel is a dual situation where you're riding in the vehicle, but He is the steering wheel. And now together you guys are navigating through the course of life. What do I mean by that? When you just call and talk to God, there's a song called Call Him Up and Tell Him What You Want. Well, you can tell Him. But the question is, will what you're asking for occur if you're not listening to what He has to say on the other end of the line? Because if you're not listening to what He has to say, and you can listen to what He has to say, but not apply it, meaning do what He's saying to do on the other end of the line. And this is the question that I have to you when you're praying: what is God saying to you? And the people in your circle, if they're praying for you, what is God saying to them to say to you about the situation that you guys are praying about? And this is a very important spiritual issue because a lot of people will come to a position to think just because they pray that that's going to get them out of the issue. It's not. You've got to hear His word and His voice, and you've got to actually be a doer of His word. And most people, they don't know how to listen and they don't know how to do, and that's why their prayers are not answered. And so let's start there. But then, so now here's the thing: you have to have sincere people who actually know if their prayers are being answered and if they're doing the thing that the answer implies in application to that answer that God gives you. That's important. Very important. So yes, but I would say yes for sure. Having an opportunity to have your spiritual circle, your medical circle, your and sometimes they're not the same. Because I can tell you, it's some goofy
no.
people that I would not let in my spiritual circle, but it's some those goofy people I will let in my medical circle, and vice versa. And people are like, you let that person in? Yes, because they fit the criteria of what God has for me in my circle and how to support me and what I'm going through. And yeah, I have a lot of strange people in my circle, and you wouldn't even think who they are that they are. One of the guys in my circle is they call him Dookie. Now he grew up the baddest guy on the block, always in trouble, but he's the guy who, if you need somebody to have your back and pray for you and make sure that you're centered and not mess with you and keep you focused, he'll be in the kitchen when we need help at church. But when it's time to pray, he's the most serious guy. But he was always in trouble growing up. And so I trust him. And he'll tell you what his issues are, and he's ready to go to bat. But he's ready to go to bat spiritually, and I'm ready for that. But then in my medical circle, people who are unconditional. One of my friends, he's the first person who introduced me to holistic medicine, and he's in my circle. And every time I get into the mode, it's very easy in holistic medicine to ask somebody what is wrong, and then to only prescribe to giving to answering or giving a synopsis to what is wrong and then making that wrong go away without looking at the cause. And he always checks me on that. And then even in my life, I don't have any medical issues, but as I get older in age, I'm 53, as I get older in age, I find that I must be in a certain area with my weight so that I don't have any issues. And right now I'm 13% over that weight capacity. And he's like, bro, that stomach is, you know, I don't want to hear from him. I'm really not trying to hear, bro, your stomach is not looking right. You're looking a
A little
little fat.
bloated.
Uh, yeah, you looking a little broly today, bro. And then do you really want to eat those donuts? Or do you really want to blah, blah, blah? And then it's as I'm about to put it in my mouth, though. And so that accountability factor is important because now it's, let me go drink my water. Now it's, I don't, I want to tell them I don't have any medical issues. So what? But that's not the issue. The reason that I don't have medical issues because I have people like him who are checking me, and that's important.
So you said something. I want to say thank you to Buzz Smith who was watching. Buzz, can you tell me where you are watching from? Greatly appreciated. And Lady D, thank you so much for tuning in. Hope that you are recovering well and that um, physical therapy is going good for you and that you're kicking its butt and it's not kicking yours. Yes. So we're rooting for you with that physical therapy.
Yes.
Uh, you said something that's really important. And I don't think that the average person does this, but you have a spiritual circle and you have a medical circle. Hey, Dr. V, she is tuning in from Detroit. Welcome,
Dr.
welcome.
V, how are you?
Good afternoon, Dr. V from Detroit. You said you have a spiritual circle and you have a medical circle. Are those the only two that you have?
No, I have a financial circle also.
Okay, you got so it's
Yes.
three circles. Are any of those circles interconnected in any way?
Not at all. Matter of fact, the people don't even know each other.
Really?
Have no clue who they are. I mean, like if they were to meet each other in a place of to eat or at the mall, they'd have no clue.
How
And
many
with my
people do you have
financial
in each?
team,
Do
they're
you
a pretty
have
good team too.
how many people do you have in each one of those teams?
I have 4 in my financial team, 4 in my spiritual team, and 5 in my medical team.
How'd you come up with those numbers?
I think that 5 is the magic number for people because the offset of a vote, well, if we're voting, then the offset of a vote is an odd number so that you can never
Correct.
come up to even. That's the first thing. So if you're ever getting 2 and 2, my thought was initially it was 4. So that's why my financial team and my spiritual teams have 4. But when we vote, I always end up breaking the vote in those areas, and I don't
Okay.
like it because I like for the person who's breaking the tie to say why they have a difference than the other two people. But in my medical environment, I never have to break the tie, and it takes a lot of stress off of me that way. And that's the piece that nobody talks about. When you're alone making decisions for yourself, the auspices of making decisions. I'm a grown man, and I can make decisions for myself, and I'm decisive. But the auspices of having 3 other people who are grown, who care about you, and who want to make those same good decisions. Now, this is what I didn't tell you. I'm also in those persons circle in those three areas. And
Okay.
so, you want to get on me about my tummy. I'm gonna get on you about being in the bed till 1 o'clock, 1 p.m. You see what I'm saying? So where are you? Because I don't see you. You
I'm be like,
so
you need to get out of my grown people business, okay?
right. And
Because today
so
I feel like being in the bed until 1 o'clock.
there is these things. There is that equal energy, and not petty energy. I'm not saying it's petty energy, but it's
Mhm.
okay. You got me, but wait till I see yours, because you definitely getting it, but in a good way, not like I'm just being petty. But yes, they are. The groups are three different sets of groups. None of the people know each other. At least I don't think they know each other, unless they just coincidentally bumped in me as the person who's being the variable in all of the groups. And then the other thing is, what I was saying was taking the pressure off of me to make the decisions about me. And then it's like, I wouldn't have made that decision. I probably would have just did this. But when we expand out on it, one person's thinking from left field, another person's thinking from left field, another person thinks from first base. And the different thoughts gives me a broader thinking base of what I was thinking of as an individual. And intellectually, most of them are on my intellectual level. And if they're not, they're spiritually higher than me. So they're on my same level or higher. One or two people in that 13-person group is what I would consider a person that I mentor or protege, but their 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 abilities in that area is better than mine, if you get what I'm saying.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
so that's kind of the thought. And so I'm excited about that because I'm encouraging everybody who's listening to us today to have those type of people in their lives. I was thinking about Dr. V. I think this was the Dr. V who I was on the Detroit People's Food Co-op. It's a grocery
Uh,
store that we built in
Dr.
Detroit.
Vertanji. Her name is Dr. Vertanji.
I think that she's on a co-op board with me in 2019, and the store just opened. And one of the things that we did on that board was we voted, but now the people of Detroit have access to food. Detroit is a food desert, and one of the things that we're looking for is to have fresh produce because we spend about $250 million outside of the city of Detroit on food. Where if we kept that money in Detroit just on food, we would change about 1,800 to 2,800 lives. We can create those many more jobs for us, people of color in Detroit. So,
You know, when I think about, you know, people in our circle, I don't think that people think in that respect. I mean, you have it so thought out. You have medical, financial, and spiritual. We just got, Tay Tay and them. We all just
mm,
been hanging out from way back. And some of the people that helped us to get where we are aren't going to be the ones that's going to take us to where we need to be.
not happening.
It I haven't seen it. And if we even look at all of the stars, that's where they have a lot of their issue is because they carrying family members, cousins, folks from around the way. And by the time they pay everybody and everybody lives off their dime, they end up dying broke. So are they helping you or are they hurting you? And we can't. And love says self-preservation needs to be the first order priority. We got to think about that. That if I'm not well, And if I'm not okay, there's nothing I can do for all of you. And everybody has a place in my life. It just won't all be the same place that you once had. And some people, you may have had access to me 24/7, but at this point, you don't have me 24/7. If you get 10 minutes of my time, and that 10 minutes might be in texting, I may not even use my voice with you. I mean, that's where I am now. Was I like that before? Absolutely not.
Mm.
But as you grow and you see where you are, I think I'm very selfish with my time, because I find that that is the commodity that people waste the most, but it's the most important one. It's the one that holds the most value. Is time.
You know, what I'm hearing first is your ability to take care of self. When you're on the airplane and they say if the oxygen comes down,
Mhm.
they tell you to put the oxygen on yourself first so that you don't
Absolutely.
pass out. And
Mhm.
then you can help other people. And it's the same way you should be thinking in life. You have to first put the oxygen on yourself. But what happens is most people, they're so busy doing for other people that they don't take care of themselves first. And their circles, and also with their circles, like for me growing up, my nickname is Boss Magic. I went undefeated in my elementary and my high school years in basketball. So I had people who followed me because I was like the captain and the president, right? But those people, none of them can help me because they were followers, if you were, and
Mhm.
they can't check me. So my natural group of people, I was their leader. But anything I say will go, and just like you, I'm thinking you probably were a boss lady wherever you were, and the people who were with you, they were kind of like followers, and they really couldn't check you. And so what happens is a person who is growing and they go unchecked. I like what Kwame Kilpatrick says about it. He says, "Don't let your position and your title take you where your character can't keep you."
Mhm.
He wrote a book when he was in jail, and I think the book kind of centered him. And but he also says that regardless of people's opinion of you, like cream, you'll still rise to the top based on your purpose.
That's what
Two
my daddy
powerful,
telling me.
two powerful sets of things. Now here's the thing, and this is what I want to ask people realistically as it relates to their medical, their spiritual, or their financial. There are other areas that you can have the five, but I just chose those three. Um, are the people in your circle able to polish you up, sharpen you up in the areas of your purpose? Are they able to hold you accountable? If they hold you accountable, would you shut them down tomorrow, or would you accept it with love? Are they able to talk to you so that they can get through, and you might feel some type of way for a second, but you know that it was in love?
Oh, I'm waiting for Dr. Vertangi to say something about this one. Because we talked at 7:30. Look, my day started at 7:30 this morning.
Wow.
It started at 7:30 this morning, and I am still going. And so I love it. I had a leader say to me that I can't be in your circle if I can't correct you.
That's
If
it.
I, if you can't be corrected,
It's a waste of time.
yep. And I think that was the biggest lesson that I learned in the people who are able to be under her. Because I was just like, oh, she can't, she ain't talking to me like that. And did she? No. But did we almost have, we had a moment where I felt like she overstepped her bounds, and I very politely put her back over in her little space. You know, you overstepping your bounds.
Hold on, why her space got to be little space? Her little space. Why it got to be her little space?
Cause
She
she
hit some
did,
chords. She hit
cause
some
she did,
chords.
cause she did, and she would appreciate little. Hmm. She did. So she just needed to be back over there in your space, and I'm gonna stay in my little space, and we need to have some respect. I think that's the only time where I've ever not received something that someone had to say. But you have to, how do I want to say this? And I'm not trying to find a way to say it lightly or sweeten it, but what you don't know, you can't speak on. You know, I believe that God can give you information or give you wisdom in a situation that maybe you have never experienced. But if you've never had children, there's certain things you can't tell me about raising a child. You've never been a grandmother. There's nothing you could tell me about my grandkids. If you've never birthed a baby, you can't tell me nothing about birthing no baby.
So
Now men don't have, but
I'm gonna
men
slap back on you on this.
okay, but
Just
men
because I
don't
don't
have
have a
babies.
uterus, just because don't have a uterus and I don't have a child, I have not bear a bored child, it doesn't mean that God can't spiritually lean into me with some information that you need to be
Correct.
relevant in your situation.
But sir, I prefaced my statement with that though. I did. I prefaced my
Mhm.
statement with God can give you wisdom to give me a word in those situations.
Right.
However, comma, mm,
And see, this is what I'm talking about. And this is and see, this is why I have to be calm during this time because brothers, I'm talking out there for you. Specifically if you're in a relationship with a strong sister. You have to say what you have to say in love and leave it there. It always sinks in. No matter what fight you get back, it comes back in love. But you can't create trust by having the argument like the other person is doing. You just have to stay calm and clear and know that that's the word God given you. And then the words, choose your words so that instead of hardening hearts, you can melt hearts. And this is what I want to say if you're in somebody's circle. The words that hardens hearts will have a person's finances destroyed, their spiritual life in ruins, and their medical situations um, off track. But if you're saying words that are in love and not hardening, the people over time, I had a chance to think about what you're saying, and I didn't like it at the time, but I trust that you were saying what was best for me at that time. And that's the peace that we need. We need those people in our communities, and we're not seeing it. One of the things that I've said that we must start doing for our young men who are choosing to do street businesses is that we need to be able to talk to them and give them alternative exercises to do in order to get off the street. And one of the things that I saw the fruit of Islam, and I'm not backing them, I'm not even part of their religion, do in the south side of Chicago personally.
mm-hmm.
Now it's the McCormick area, like the Coble Hall that we have here. They went and told the guys on the street, listen, you can't sell to our children anymore. You can't send them to school with drugs anymore. We're going to hold you responsible. And it's 7 or 8 guys on the block, and they're like, what are you going to do about it? We're going to come back with 10 more people. They did. They didn't move, and then guess when they came back with 27? Guess what they did? They moved. And so for us, we don't just have to take those areas back. We have to take the strongholds back off of our businesses that don't exist in our cities, where we're creating our own grocery stores, our own pharmacies, our own five and dime, if you were, our own Kresge style stores that we're giving the services to our people ourselves, and creating the what we call the financial infrastructures to the GDP. It's really a bigger issue that we're talking about here, not just medicine. And I know we're here for medicine in our group around medicine, but these groups, if you start to hold yourself accountable and have those groups, you're not even moving goofily. Like you said, I think you said at the top of the show, You said you don't even waste your energy on certain things. Like it's the same thing with me. Like if somebody were just to come to me and say, I need your help. I'm going to assess, first of all, whether I can help them. But second, I might be able to give that person a lot of help. But me pouring into them means that I'm not going to be balanced. And what do I mean with a balanced life? One third of the people that I have in my life I look up to. A third I mentor. And another third I rub shoulders with to stay sharp. And then there's my personal groups. And I would encourage everybody to do that because one of the things that my parents didn't tell me, my parents were very involved in my life, is that I should have been networking in college when I was between the age of 17 and a half and 26. I should have been doing everything I needed to do because I was judging the people who were on Tecmo Bowl on the you know the the video games, and I was judging the people who was out late at night, not understanding that they were there to be the next CEOs of the Bank of Americas, and we actually have those people today, and those are the people who were goofing off in school, but I just didn't see it. And so I
Yeah.
just want to say, you got to be cognitive of that particular your particular surroundings. If you're in the best, God will surround you with the best, but those people still have to grow too. And here's the other thing, don't be so selfish. Make sure that you'll give time for the people in your circle to grow because sometimes people are there to grow. Like, for instance, I became the Federation president in my area, and it was over 26 churches. Well, God put me in that position not because I was the greatest leader, although if you asked me, I would have told you I was the greatest. He put me in that position because He was spiritually saving my life, but I didn't recognize it.
Hmm.
And so you got doctor's degrees, you got high positions, you got high character um, positions and places, like Kwame said. God has you there because He's saving your life. Because can you think about if you were on the other side of any game? And just take a minute to think about that. If you were on the other side of any game, where would you actually be? And that's what God is trying to say. Listen. And then, if God can reveal the people who you were leading, if He can reveal your character to those people, you probably wouldn't be leading. And so now it's like, thank you, God, for not giving that revelation to others, giving it to me so I can correct. But then here's the most important thing, and this is why I said have a circle, because of trust. Because you need to have somebody who you can just talk and you won't even have to worry about your tongue. If you're a
Yes.
cursor, if you curse, you need to be able to curse in that circle. If you talk about other people, you need to be able to talk about other people in that circle. And then let the people say, hey, watch your mouth. Or hey, don't talk about other people, focus on yourself. Then you begin to see how important it is to make these connections and stay responsible within that group of trust. Because it's like, well, if I'm talking about other people in my circle, how do you know I won't talk about you?
Correct.
And so now that circle of trust is the most important thing that we can build, in my opinion. And that's why I'm saying to people in my circle, if you don't trust me, don't have me in your circle. Don't even do it. It's not just that I can correct you. It's not just that I can check you. It's like if you don't trust me, don't even invite me because it's a waste of my time. And so these are some of the strongholds that I'm talking about. And when I again, we only talk about strongholds as it relates to Satan, but we should be talking about strongholds as it relates to God. He has strongholds for us, and we should be holding on to those strongholds. And those strongholds are things that allow us to sometimes just sit still and know that He's God. Sit still that you can't even solve the situation, but maybe time can. Maybe the download that somebody in your group gets can once they download it with someone else, and then the three of them put it together and bring it to you, and it becomes something complete. They like, I don't know, God just told me to tell you, and it's not, by themselves they sound whack, but when you put them together and how you hear, it could come to your ears and be something called a complete plan. So that's my thought about some of the reasons why we would have circles like that.
The time is now 34 minutes after the hour. It is 4:34. We want to say thank you so much for tuning into Rolling on the Road. And our guest is our resident. I like that word. I'm thinking about that. I like that. Our resident expert in whole in holistic practicing. And part of it is making sure that you have good relationships, as you're moving forward. Who's in your corner? Who's in your circle? And if you are watching via GRTV 25, today is August the 20th. It's Wednesday, August 20th of 2025. And thank you for being such a loyal viewer. We definitely appreciate you here at Rolling on the Road. Um, I love everything of what you said, and I receive it right along with my rolling family, that they're going to reach out to me. Dr. Kim, Dr. Kim, Dr. Burrington, because Dr. Burrington, you know what? Sometimes I might get that text at 2:30 in the morning, like I did the other day. I got a text. Someone was watching the replay. So I want to say thank you for that. Just those texts that come at 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, those little notes that y'all drop in my DM, the phone calls. I appreciate you. And this is what has kept me going for 5 years. It's
Wow.
being able to share and being transparent in all that I am and all that I am doing, so that we can all learn and grow together and get information. And there are people who have been where we are, who have overcome, and that's what it's about, is being able to share what we know so that we can all grow. Ooh, look at there. She had a little rhyme in there. That was cute. Wasn't even planned.
Natural,
But
naturally talented.
you didn't include, most people have a personal circle of friends that they talk to about all of these pieces. So they don't normally have them separated, where they have a spiritual, they have a medical, they have a financial, they have, 4 or 5 people that they've been rolling with, and they talk about all of it. What are your thoughts about that? Or is that just a choice that you made because you wanted them all separated? Or the average person just has all of these people that are a montage, if you will?
So I have two best friends in the world. Jimmy Hammond, he's an anesthetist in the DC area, and Johnny Turner, he's a stockbroker in the Indianapolis area. And if they ask me about it, I'll tell them because they're my best friends. Johnny's been my best friend since the second grade. Jimmy since my freshman year in college. And so, and we were all basically roommates. Jimmy stayed next to us. Johnny and I were roommates in college. And Mark Scott is the other person. And so, if they ask me, I'll tell them. But it's not something like last year we went to a Lions and an Indianapolis Colts game in Indianapolis, and we was just there shooting the breeze. And my finances and my medical and my spiritual issues never came up. Now we have deep conversations that are naturally based, and they can go across all of those genres, but they're not in my group. They're neither of the two of them are in my group of people who I have designated for those areas. And Johnny is a stockbroker, so he very easily could be in my financial group. That he could actually lead it and actually just be one person. But that's not really what I'm looking for. Really, what I'm looking for is um, collaboration, fellowship, um, accountability. More so accountability because over the last 2.5 years, financially, I've had it handed to me because of situations, bad decision makings of, maybe a family member, loaning a family member something, or a situation where I've gotten something stolen, or a situation where the insurance didn't cover what was stolen because of the situation. And so it's like trying to recover from those things, it takes time. That's the first thing. And then it takes people to say, you just need to stay focused to get back on track. And getting back on track after those things happen are very important. But here's the thing, can you imagine if my friends, who say they're my friends, my boys, tell their wives? Or if their wives overhear talking over the phone, and if
Yeah.
they talk to one of my classmates or someone else who is a competitor of mine or who don't like me. And so, in order for me not to kind of deal with that, and I'm not saying anything about their wives, I'm just saying, just
Oh, I understand.
examples,
Mhm.
it will put undue pressure on our friendship. And there's no need to do that, because for me, if I called them today and I just needed them to come pick me up off of a corner, the two of them would say yes, and vice versa. I would say yes to them. So the thought is, well, putting them in that situation may not be the healthiest. And then if I go missing for 30 days, guess what they'll do? They'll call, Rob, you okay? They just don't hear from me. If their spirit just don't pick up from me, if their consciousness and their ethereal connection through their pineal gland just don't connect, they'll say something to me. And so that piece of it is important to me because I connect to people naturally that way. So, an important piece.
It is. And as you don't think about it in that respect, but I can see as I look at my own relationships and I look at others and what people come to me with, it all makes sense.
And here's the other piece, the complexities of our purposes and why we exist. Sometimes it has nothing to do with our medical issues or our physical issues or our spiritual issues. It has to do with focus and
Correct.
discipline.
Hmm.
That's something that the will is in charge of. That is our soul. And so our soul has something called desire and or will. And the will is the thing that kind of keeps us trudging forward to get something finished, because that's just who we are. And so I told you at the top of the show that Satan is after your body so he can get your soul. God is asking to be invited into your spirit so that he can have access to your soul. And that war is going on. Well, if you're in a situation where you don't have goals, like I have financial goals, I want to be finished. I want to retire in the next 5.5 years. I'm 53. By 58, I want to make sure that my family is taken care of. My daughter has college set aside. And whatever I'm doing largely is for God in that space. But it will be for free, and it will be to youth because I like youth ministries. Well, that encompasses healthiness. That encompasses my goal to be financially fit. That encompasses me to be spiritually mature so that I can handle the issues that our youth are handling. Because, as you know, they're exposed to way more at 8, 9, 10, and 11 because of this thing right here than anything that we were introduced to at
Yes.
that age. We was worried about the bully at the playground, maybe,
Ugh.
and somebody wanting to ride our bike and went around the block and didn't come back in time.
I remember
Today,
those days. It was an orange bicycle with an orange and purple banana seat.
mine was the Swin Thresher, silver and powder blue. You couldn't tell me nothing. It's the first ones that carried the shocks on the front. Oh man. And the shock between the seat, you couldn't tell me nothing because the shock was like the powder blue, and so was the springs. You couldn't tell me nothing on that bike. But my
Mm-mm.
boy took it around the block.
I had
My parent,
purple in the middle of my banana seat.
I
Okay.
knew you was gonna say purple. I knew it.
Got purple in my banana seed.
And so, but I mean, they got they got children's programs that are teaching them how to take their own lives. Yes, they got children's programs that are teaching them um, the three holes to have sex in. Yes, they have books to say why it's okay to be gay. Yes, and I'm not saying if you're parentally into that, I'm not trying to provoke your parental license because you choose that. But I just think it's too young for our children to be introduced to those things at such an early age. I mean, if you're introducing people to things sexually before puberty, for instance, you know, psychologists say that puberty is when we learn about sex. But if you're learning about sex before puberty, how do you get a chance for your biological, anatomical, and emotions to sync up if you're already being introduced to it way before your anatomical has the time to actually be where it is? And I get it. Some people are saying they need to know the birds and the bees before the actual thing happens to their body so they can learn how to control it. I get it. But it's just, I say all that to say they're introduced to a lot. And so for me, that retirement spot is grossly based on having the ability to speak to those things for our youth. Because in my church growing up, we had about 100 men that I can call my second dad. Brother Steele, Brother Stevenson, Brother Maycott, Brother Clinton. I can name them all because they meant something to me. And they might have been able to give me a whooping at a time if I did something wrong and my dad wasn't there. I was afraid of them just like I was afraid of my dad. Now, today, the behavior that they displayed is called narcissistic. It's called toxic masculinity. And so we've got to start to begin to straighten up what we understand about the complexities of understanding how to be a man. And so those are some of the things that I want to work on in my circle. The people who know me know that, and they know that they're trying to release me, and they know my goals. If you have a purpose, you should have goals. And every year have a goal that I'm trying to meet, and then the next year go set 2.0. I have grades that I give myself, and maybe we can talk about that on the show. How to actually evaluate yourself for the year to make sure that you stay on track. Because most people, they're wondering. Listen, if you're wondering out there and you're watching our show, just put the word wondering. What do I mean when I say wondering? God gave you a purpose 10 years ago, and you still talking about it to your friends. You it took you 5 minutes to put a rough draft to the book together, but the book is not done. You were supposed to go talk to that
You can't
CEO.
say amen, just say ouch. Okay, ouch.
If
All
you've
right,
been talking to the
ouch.
CEO about doing this venture, but you talked to the CEO, you told him you was gonna get it to him 7 years ago, and you've gotten him nothing. I'm talking to you. You're a wanderer. And I want to get you out of that wondering mode. I want to get you into the mode where, listen, if you don't have that group of people behind you, listen, Dr. Kim and myself, we're your group. And we're going to hold you accountable today because we're going to be your proxy group today to make sure that you're centered on getting yourself together and getting up to speed to do what you need to do so that you can be on your way and your purpose. It's my thought that Jeremiah 5 and 6, it says, I knew you before you were in your mother's womb. Now, in the Hebrew, knew means that I had a relationship with you. So now you have to ask yourself, what does God say when he says, I created you after my own image? He was talking about spirit, not the body, not the soul. Because the soul and the body didn't exist before the mother's womb. And so he's talking about spiritual. So I think God had a conversation with all of us and he imparted our purpose on him in our spirit. And then he blew into our mothers and the sperm in her womb and made us a living soul. And we became body and soul and spirit. Hebrews 3:10 says that God divided the body from the spirit from the soul like with a sword. What does that mean? It means that the people out there, God has already He's telling you that he created you for one, a reason, two, a purpose. And if he created you for a purpose, why can't you have that fellowship with him in the spirit to make sure that you understand what that purpose is and to implement it? Very important thing. You know, I just came back from 5,000 youth this week, and one of the things that I saw was that some of the youth, they were more encouraged about Universal Studios than they were their spiritual souls, because we were in Orlando. And they're like, why did you come? I want to go to Universal Studios. That was about 300 of them I talked to that said that. The other 40, I talked about 1,000, 1,100 kids, children. The other ones were saying, I wanted to make sure that I was coming to give back to the community. Specifically, the group that worked with me in Habitat for Humanity, we helped build a house down there this week. Had a ball. So it's important to make sure that you have your group, and to let your group know what your purpose is and why you're moving in the direction you're moving in. Like my spiritual group knows that I'm praying for my family. My spiritual group knows that I'm praying for my church. My spiritual group knows that I'm praying for me to stay disciplined and focused and make decisions that are that are that are spiritual decisions, not fleshly decisions. My financial group knows that I'm trying to retire in 5 years, and it's like, well, bro, let's go from being a negative 110,000 to negative 25,000. And then this year, let's go from being a negative 25,000 to a negative 250,000. And then that last 2.5 years, let's exponentialize. And so we're on that path. And so for the last year and a half, I've been on that path to recovery. And I like the path of recovery because I'm taking responsibilities for the choices in those three areas that I made. And because I made those choices, it gives me the opportunity to know how much work I got to do because of my choice. But some people make bad choice after 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 bad choice. And they never take responsibility for it. And they don't have a group that holds them accountable for it. And because of that, they never get up out of the thing that they're in the middle of. And or their accountability group is fake. So anyway, I don't want to take up the show. I know we can kind of.
Really?
Sorry about that.
I mean, you know, this is the RJ show. Go ahead, go ahead, go ahead. I'm just sitting here listening
And so
enjoying.
that piece for me is
Thank
just.
you to Shantae for tuning in. We appreciate you. Thank you to Doretha for tuning in. We appreciate you. And to the love that we got up here from Tina. Tina's all the way in Rhode Island. Hey, Rhode Island, I love you. She is doing some awesome work up there with Ramp is Inclusion. She has just, you need to come back on the show, Tina. It's been a while. It has been a while, and you have done some phenomenal things. I would really love to know who's in your circle that really pushes you because of the things that she has gotten done, and she truly rolls in her purpose. No pun intended, because she's in a wheelchair as well. So she truly is rolling in her purpose, and we appreciate you. I'm okay, Dr. RJ. We appreciate you, and it's good for everyone to hear a Black man say, these are the things that I have in place. I'm taking responsibility for some, decisions that I've made. They weren't the best for me and my family where I want to be. I have goals. This is where I want to be. And I have those that I'm accountable to and that I'm accountable for. So this was awesome. And I'm glad, to give you the space to be able to share what you're doing, how you're doing it, and you're doing it with such grace. You know, my feathers got a little ruffled in the show a little bit, and I love it. your voice never elevated, you never moved, or changed your posture in the chair. You just, I said what I said, and you're gonna come back around, but I'm gonna stand flat footed on what was said. And so I'm like, oh, I like that, and I appreciate it. And I think that in my experience, in my personal life, my experience within the community and working with people, and my experience the last 5 years of interviewing people across the United States, and even interviewing someone from Nigeria, which that was an awesome interview to be able to do. You get to learn people's personalities and where they are, and you kind of meet them where they are, and you find that most people do not have someone that they can truly be accountable to, or they choose not to be accountable because they want to move within their own sphere. But I'm telling you, you work better together. It does when you're in tandem. I don't know if you've ever seen a tandem bike. When I was growing up, we had these bikes and they were called a tandem. Two people get on there and you got to pedal together and trust. You can't just, be in the back end and let the person in the front do all of the work, or vice versa. You have to work, as the bike is called, work in tandem together. And it's a beautiful thing to see when people are working together to reach a goal, even if it's to ride from the house, to go down to the ice cream shop, to go get an ice cream cone, and then ride back. Life sometimes can be just that simple, is that you have somebody that you can be in tandem with to go get that ice cream cone and come on back. And then you both can just sit down and rest because you're tired from riding the bicycle. But you need to find somebody that you can get on that bicycle with. You may not have as many groups as Dr. RJ here, and maybe you're not at that level where you need to talk about your finances in that way, or you're ready to retire. Maybe you don't have any medical issues, and you know maybe you don't even want people to talk to you about, you don't talk about religion, or you don't consider yourself spiritual, but you still have a personal life, and you still should be able to, even if you need to go to the grocery store, you need to call somebody and say, hey, I'm going to the grocery store, because you might get abducted out of the parking lot. You never know. Somebody might want to abduct you. So somebody needs to know where you are. So even if you don't want to talk about your personal business, at least be accountable, in your physicality, to say, hey, this is where I am. This is what I'm doing. Y'all give me just 1 second. I got to grab my cord.
While she's gone, I just want to talk about
There's,
one of the
I'm right
five.
here, sir.
Okay, got you.
Here's my
Go
cord.
ahead.
I wasn't going. You just, ooh, wee. But if you don't have a group, a circle, accountability person, at least one, I would implore you to do so. And if you have a group, I would tell you, let's stop and let's reevaluate and look and see. Number one, do you know your purpose? And do they know it? Can you communicate it? And are they helping you to get there? Are they helping you to be the best person that you can be? It's 59 minutes after the hour. And Dr. RJ, what you got to say, sir?
So I know it's time for us to kind of leave, but the 5 things of reason why I say we should have a group is admitting your mistakes or your credits, meaning
Wait a minute. Let's write this down. We're going to write this down.
Specifically in the corporate, because a lot of people are afraid because they think they're going to get fired, demoted, or some notch against them. But what you'll find is once you're able to admit your mistakes, people can't hold it over your head. They can't say that you're proud about it. They can't say that you're selfish about it. They can't say that it's ego. And so over the last 2 years, I'll just say, hey, I'm the person, that's me, I did that wrong. And so I admit my mistakes. I acknowledge my role in the conflict. Very important because if you don't know how to do it, people will not learn how to trust you. And then taking action, doing something, taking action. And then how do you take action? You do something to rectify the mistake that you made. Hey, I knocked this over. Let me pick it up. Hey, I said something bad to you. Let me say something nice to you. And then avoiding blame. One of the things that we mostly do is like, that was my fault. If you hadn't done this, I wouldn't have done this. No, just say
Oh
what you
yeah, the
did.
blame game.
Just say what you did.
Hmm.
And in saying what you did, leave it to the person to know what they did. Now, if they ask you, what do you think my part in this is, you might, reflect on that, but don't even worry about it because one of the things that I do is I readily forgive people in that process. And then recognizing the impact. Did it hurt somebody? Did it cause a system to fail? Did it cause people to lose their job? And then you need to be able to speak to that because recognizing the impact is so important because a lot of times we can say, I'm sorry, and then we want to go play ball the next day with our boys, not knowing that their lights are off because you ain't paying back, or their car is still in the same spot. They're walking to work, but you was the one who was using their car. And so these are real time solutions in recognizing your impact. And then, and this is the hardest part, be open to communication and listen without responding. Because that's the piece where people can be like, blah, 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 blah. And then after they get it out, it's okay to re-say what they said to you back so that they know you were listening. That part is very important because when people know that you're listening, they know that you're invested in them, and then that is a part of accountability. And so, if you can do those 5 things in your accountability team and teach that to the people who you want on your team, boy, your team is unstoppable. Like, I like to think that I'm not bragging, but I like to think that if the money system went down today, that including me and the 4 other people in my financial team, that we can come up with a banking system that would work. Because of us just being intellectual, having the intellectual prowess that we do, when we begin to talk about my issues, it's like, I wonder if we had did this, would this have been this? And then we go off into some philosophical area, kind of like we do in the show, and it'll bring us back to, wow, we was just here to do this, but all of this came from it. And so
Yeah.
that's what happens when I see your show, and that's why I'm so appreciative to be on your show because there's a broader set of things that you handle in the love that you give to the community. And that's very important to our community, specifically as it relates to male and female, having the opportunity to work together and show people that we can be professionally centered on helping the community to evolve and to have those conversations. But the communication and the accountability portion is very important.
We appreciate you here. We appreciate you. And thank you so much for giving us these 2 days. And trust me, there are some people who are watching, and these 5 points are perfect for what they have experienced. So I wrote them down, and I'm excited to be able to pass the information along and allow them to let this resonate within their spirit. So as they move forward, is this somebody that I want to be in my circle, in my work circle, in my personal circle? If we can't get through these 5 things. And, some people may not be able to do these overnight, but are they willing to say, when we have an issue, can we go through these 5 steps here?
It took me 18 months to get my teams together, just so you know.
Okay. But this is perfect for 2 or 3 people that I'm working with right now, that I am going to share this with them and let them know that it came from you, and move forward with this.
And here's the thing.
Thank you.
God's putting this on me right now. There is somebody out there who is medically challenged at this moment. Degrees up the wazoo, intellectual up the wazoo, can tell everybody else in their arena what to do up the wazoo, but you can't even drink the amount of water that you need to drink in a day. I see you picking up your water. And I'm saying this to say you can't do that because you're not accountable to anybody. And you've become slothful in your ways because of that. And I'm saying you're the person who needs this accountability crew. Yeah. And you know who you are. And I hope my word is piercing you so that it can move you to make a decision to do something different.
And with that, it is 6 minutes after the hour. It is 5:06. And we want to say thank you so much for tuning into Rolling on the Road. It has been another great show, one that'll go down into the history of being one of the great shows. We appreciate you, sir, and we definitely look forward to you coming back. We hopefully Doretha got on her job and has got a word for me. I'm excited about what Tuesday's show will probably look like, but we will see you this time next week, Tuesday and Wednesday. You guys have a great weekend, and please stay hydrated. All right, you guys be well.